there, beer hunters and wadge bankers. Welcome to another episode of the Beer Huntress. I hope you're all exceptionally well. I've seen enough of my videos now to know what the crack is. We're going to spin the wheel. It's going to pick what style we're going to have. I'm going to pick a beer from there and we're going to review it. So I'm not going to mess around any longer. Let's just get cracking because I'm getting thirsty. Let's decide what we're having. Oh no, it's staying there. I don't know if it's going to go back to sour then. So I've got Rest of the World, excellent, ROTW, which means I can go pretty much anywhere I like outside of the UK, and I think I know exactly what I'm going to have. Let's do it. So we landed on Rest of the World and I knew exactly what I wanted to go for straight away. I decided to go for the Schneider Weisse. This is the Aventinus, which is also known as the Tap 6. So created in 1907, the Aventinus is the oldest wheat doppelbock in the world. It's a very strong and malty take on the traditional bock beer. Ruby red with notes of bananas, plums, dates, licorice, little bits and pieces like that as well. Really fully and warming and a nice smooth finish to it. So I'm going to crack this bad boy open and we'll take a look at the bottle artwork and we'll also take a look at the pour. As with a lot of German and Belgian beers, I do tend to find that the artwork can be a little bit boring compared with some of the UK stuff or American stuff. Quite bright and vibrant, nice purple colour, obviously the royal colour we've got going on here, and we'll hit on the reason why that is shortly. And then just nice little imagery as well. The beer itself is 8.2%, so it's quite a decent chunky one. And then you can see just nothing really much else to talk about there, just the Schneider Weisse symbol and then just a little bit about the beer. So we're going to crack this open and check out what it's like. Here we go. Bottle cap. And we've got a little bit of life coming out already. Schneider has a tendency to do this. We do get a little bit of additional carbonation to it because of the yeast in it, because it is secondary fermented inside the bottle. Okay, let's catch this before it spills everywhere. I'll show you how to properly pour a Schneider Weisse or any wheat beer that's bottled. So I'm just going to stop just slightly before the bottom. Give it a good swill with my hands. Just going to get all that yeast all mixed in there, and then you can watch the beer itself change colour on the pour. Unlike all my other beers that I generally pour, where I usually do half pour and then leave the rest for after I've done the video, I've decided to go all in with this one and just show you the how it looks. So traditional style wheat beer, got really nice heady beer here, really thick full head. One of the reasons why the glasses are always oversized, so you can get this really gorgeous thick full head to it. Nice brown and slightly hazy because of the additional yeast. You can leave that out if you want to, you don't have to have it if it's not your thing, but yeah, it's just gone a touch hazy there. So we've got a kind of like brown tan kind of colour, and yeah, I can see all the carbonation coming up. Absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be stunning, this. So there's actually two quite fascinating stories behind the origin of this beer. The first one relates to the dynasties and Duke Maximilian I, and the second one relates to the history of Schneider Weisse as a brewery family. The Wittelsbacher family is a dynasty that ruled in Bavaria for 738 years, and they were first dukes, and then by 1806 they became kings. It was one of the most important dynasties in European history, and this is because their marriage policy actually ensured that members became part of higher ranking bloodlines and ruling houses of note all across Europe. But that's not what just made them unique. They were also really actively involved in the beer industry to a certain extent. In 1269, the fourth Wittelsbach Duke of Bavaria, Ludwig the Severe, started Munich's first ever brewery. In 1516, Wittelsbach Duke Wilhelm IV proclaimed the Bavarian purity law, which we know as the Reinheitsgebot. And in 1553, Duke Albrecht V actually brought in the Bavarian summer brewing restrictions, which stopped you from brewing from April the 23rd until September the 29th, and remained in force up until the 1850s. This actually laid the foundation for Bavarian lagers and malts and style beers that you will know. Importantly, for this one in 1602, Duke Maximilian I instituted a very highly profitable wheat beer brewing monopoly, and he actually enforced every innkeeper in his realm to serve wheat beer. Now, before we move on to the history of the brewery itself, shall we have a little bit of a smell of this and see what it's going to be like when I take a little taste? I feel like I'm teasing you. I might have a sip. Oh gosh, that just smells nice. That head's gone really, really creamy and foamy now. Absolutely beautiful. Couldn't resist, just went for it. Really couldn't resist. So on the nose, you get loads of bready notes, touch of banana, a little bit of clove coming through. Really stunning, very subtle, but really, really stunning selection and combination of complex flavours there. On the taste, which obviously I couldn't resist, I got that really heavy plums and raisins, that damson fruit flavour coming through, all mixed in with that gorgeous bready notes and that phenolic flavours that you get from it. Let's have another go. Beautiful. It's very warming. Really, really got that gorgeous warmth coming down in the throat. Just stunning. Now, this beer has got its own little history itself, and it all relates to the Schneider family. The brewery itself was founded in 1872 by George Schneider I and his son George Schneider II, and they acquired the Weisse Brauhaus in Munich, which is the oldest wheat beer brewery in the city. In 1927, the owners at the time, which was George Schneider IV, worked on the expansion and moving the brewery to Kelheim. In 1944, the brewery in Munich was completely demolished because of their aerial bombardment during the Second World War. And so the entire production was moved to Kelheim permanently. The Kelheim location is the same brewery that was founded by Duke Maximilian I in 1607. It was the first Weisse house that was founded in Bavaria. To this day, the owners are still descendants of George Schneider I. So we have George Schneider I and II, who were the original owners and founders, and they were joint ownership. Then George Schneider III, who was known as the collector. Then we move on to the important one for this beer, which is Mathilda Schneider. She was known as the Persistent, and she actually founded this beer in 1907, and it was named after Johannes Aventinus, who's a Bavarian historian. Going on from there, George Schneider IV, who was named the Undaunted, George Schneider V, who was named the Conductor, and George Schneider VI, who was called the Artist. So they liked a lot of Georges, to be fair. But yeah, the big standout for me is Mathilda with this particular beer. Oh, lovely. Just loving that bready note coming through. That really gorgeous juxtaposition between that kind of wheat aspect and then that really, really dark, intense fruits plus the booze on the end of it. So the style itself is a variation on a Weizenbock. So a Weizenbock is a style of bock that replaces some of the barley in it with a grain bill of about 40 to 60% wheat instead. The style combines Munich malt and a top fermenting wheat beer yeast in order to be able to make it a part of the wheat family, if you can call it that. But then it's brewed up to the strength of a Doppelbock. Now a Doppelbock literally translates to double bock, so it's a much stronger and much maltier version than you find from your normal Weizenbocks. The style itself says that it's quite warming, it's very wholehearted, very dark, very fruity. You get quite an intense, fiery, but well-balanced, tender kind of undertone to it. I don't know if you can use the word tender specifically to describe a beer. It's very tender, but that's what they've put. I'm thinking more of like tender from a train, perhaps. It's just like warm coal, something along those lines. But I think it's got a really sturdy combination of very malty aromas, a lot of kind of bready notes coming through on the nose that works so well with the taste. So even as you're tasting it, the extra flavours coming through from the smell, absolutely stunning. I adore this beer. I think it's such a fantastic example of the style, even though it did kind of invent the style. Well, I say did kind of, it actually did invent the style. You know, it was the first one of its kind, and yeah, what an absolutely wonderful example of it. So it's made with wheat malt and barley malt. Obviously we've said there's Hallertau Hercules hops in there as well. It starts life out at about 18.5% original gravity, bringing it out at 8.2% at the end. It does go through secondary re-fermentation, as we've discussed, hence why we've got that haziness. So we've got the actual addition of yeast and brewer's sugar going into the bottom of the bottle, and it's just adding a little bit extra carbonation, it's adding a little bit more of a funkiness to it. And it's just, I can't even describe how wonderful this beer is. It is stunning. If you haven't had this, seek it out, find it, get your hands on it, because it is truly one of the most remarkable Bavarian beers out there. Well guys, let me know in the comments if you've had this before, tell me what you thought of it. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed drinking this beer, which isn't hard because I absolutely adore this beer. I think it's a fantastic style. Check out some of the other videos on the YouTube channel, keep wajbanking, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Beer Huntress. Cheers! If you enjoyed this video guys, then please like, subscribe and share it with your friends. Hit that notifications button to get alerts when our new video is out. We're also on Facebook, Twitter and on Instagram, so check out the links in the description and follow us on there as well. If there's anything you'd like to see us review, please pop it in the comments and we'll pop it in the pump for later. Keep wajbanking, and I shall see you all next time for another episode of The Beer Huntress.